You think you know what kindness costs? Let me tell you about Zara Johnson, a woman whose simple act of compassion nearly destroyed her life and changed an entire city forever. Picture this: Detroit, Michigan. Rain hammering the cracked sidewalks like bullets. The kind of storm that makes smart people stay inside. But Zara wasn't inside. She was walking home from her third job of the day, grocery bags cutting into her wrists, her sneakers soaked through. Zara worked at 3 different places just to keep her tiny apartment. Morning shift at a nursing home, afternoon at a community kitchen, night shift cleaning offices. 28 years old, no family left, barely scraping by. But she had something most people don't: a heart that couldn't ignore suffering. That's when she saw him. An elderly man sitting on a bus bench in the pouring rain. No umbrella, no coat, his thin white hair plastered to his scalp. He was rocking back and forth, whispering the same word over and over. Michael, Michael, Michael. Most people would have kept walking. Hell, most people should have kept walking in that neighborhood at night. But Zara stopped. She crouched down in front of him, rain soaking through her work uniform. Sir, are you okay? The old man looked up at her with the most lost eyes she'd ever seen, like someone had opened a door in his mind, and everything that made him who he was had just vanished. I can't find my way home, he whispered. I can't remember. That's all it took. Zara helped him to his feet and brought him to her apartment. She gave him dry clothes, an old sweatshirt that belonged to her deceased uncle. She made him chicken soup from a can, the only food she had left until payday. She let him sleep on her couch with her rescue cat, Princess, curled up next to him. She called him Mr. Samuel because when she asked his name, he just stared at her blankly and said, I don't know. For 3 days, Zara cared for this stranger. She fed him. She sat with him when nightmares made him cry out in his sleep. She held his hand when confusion overwhelmed him. She had no idea she was caring for Samuel Harrison, father of tech billionaire Michael Harrison, CEO of Harrison Industries. She had no idea there was a massive manhunt happening across the city. She had no idea she was about to become the most hated woman in America. On the 3rd day, everything changed. Zara was coming back from the grocery store, arms full of food for Mr. Samuel, when the black SUVs pulled up. Men in expensive suits poured out. Cameras, police sirens. And then she saw him. Michael Harrison, 6 feet tall, sharp jawline, cold gray eyes that could freeze hell itself. His face was twisted with rage as he spotted Zara walking toward her building with the old man clinging to her arm. You lying piece of trash. Michael's voice cut through the humid Detroit air like a razor blade. Zara froze, groceries still in her hands. Excuse me. You think you can kidnap my father and play the hero? Michael didn't just speak. He snarled. Step away from him. Now. Wait. Zara raised both hands, palms out. I found him 3 days ago, sitting alone at that bus stop. He didn't know his name. Before she could finish, Michael's fist flew. It wasn't a slap. It was a full, brutal punch that landed across Zara's cheekbone with a sound like a gunshot. She crashed to the ground, blood trickling from her split lip, shock washing over her face like ice water. The old man, Samuel, cried out, Don't hurt Zara. She helped me. No. Gasps erupted from the growing crowd. Someone whispered, Did that billionaire just punch a woman? Another voice, Is she his father's caregiver? No. He's saying she kidnapped the old man. Phones came out. Social media went live. Within minutes, the footage was everywhere. Zara pushed herself up, dazed and bleeding. I found him alone near the bus stop. He was cold and confused. I helped him. Michael pointed at her like she was a criminal. Helped him? You call keeping him hostage in your disgusting apartment helping? You drugged him, didn't you? I didn't, Zara's voice cracked. Her knees wobbled as she tried to stand straight. I would never. The sirens arrived. 3 police cars. Officers surrounded the scene, torn between the bleeding woman and the billionaire. He assaulted her, one bystander called out. She kidnapped my father, Michael snapped back. She's been hiding him for 3 days. He has Alzheimer's. Samuel looked between them, tears filling his eyes. Why is Zara crying? She gave me soup. She shared her bed when I was scared. The officers hesitated, then grabbed Zara's arms and twisted them behind her back. Cold metal handcuffs snapped around her wrists. "This is a mistake," she cried out. "I didn't do anything wrong." Michael watched, breathing hard, blood on his knuckles, satisfaction in his cold eyes. But here's what nobody knew, what would later tear this whole story apart and expose a conspiracy that reached the highest levels of power in Detroit. 2 days before Zara found him, Samuel Harrison hadn't wandered off. He'd been taken. It started 3 nights earlier in his private care facility. Samuel lived in the penthouse floor of Golden Years Manor, the most expensive elder care facility in Michigan. Round-the-clock nurses, gourmet meals, every luxury money could buy. But luxury doesn't mean safety. 2 men in medical uniforms had walked into Samuel's room at 2 a.m. They told the night nurse they were transferring him for emergency tests at the hospital. They had forged paperwork. They had a medical transport van. They had everything they needed except morals. The kidnappers, Derek Mills and Tony Russo, both former employees of the facility, had planned everything perfectly. They'd take Samuel, demand $5 million from Michael, and disappear to Mexico. But they underestimated the power of a confused, frightened old man's determination to survive. During the transport, Samuel had a moment of clarity. He remembered his military training for Vietnam. When the van stopped at a red light, he bit Derek's hand hard enough to draw blood, kicked Tony in the ribs, and somehow managed to unlock the van door. He ran. An 80-year-old man with Alzheimer's, in his pajamas, barefoot, bleeding from small cuts where he'd scraped against the van's metal interior. He ran through Detroit's east side at 3 a.m., adrenaline and pure survival instinct keeping him moving. He'd wandered for hours, dazed and lost, until he collapsed at that bus stop where Zara found him. The kidnappers panicked. They called Michael anyway, claiming they still had Samuel, hoping to collect the ransom before he was found. Michael paid. $5 million transferred to an offshore account, believing his father was still in danger. But Samuel was safe. He was warm. He was fed. He was loved by a stranger who asked for nothing in return. And now that stranger was being dragged away in handcuffs while news crews filmed every second. At the police station, Zara sat in a holding cell, her face swollen, her heart shattered. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead like angry wasps. Hours turned into days. No visitors. No phone calls. The media destroyed her. Stranger claims to rescue billionaire's father. But is she really a scammer? Read one headline. Who is Zara Johnson? What we know about the woman behind the mysterious disappearance. Read another. They dug into her past. Her eviction notices. Her student loans. Her dead-end jobs. They painted her as a desperate woman who saw dollar signs when she found a confused elderly man. She lost her jobs. All 3 of them. Her landlord started eviction proceedings. Her neighbors stopped making eye contact. Meanwhile, Derek and Tony were living it up in Canada, thinking they'd pulled off the perfect crime. But security cameras don't lie. 3 days after Zara's arrest, a civil rights lawyer named Patricia Cross took her case. Patricia had built her career defending the defenseless. She pulled security footage from every camera within 5 miles of that bus stop. What she found changed everything. The footage showed Samuel Harrison appearing on Miller Street at 3:47 a.m., alone, barefoot, clearly distressed. He wandered for hours before collapsing at the bus stop. No Zara in sight. Then, at 11:23 p.m. that same night, there she was, walking home from work, minding her own business, until she spotted Samuel and stopped to help. The timestamps proved Zara's innocence beyond any doubt. Patricia called a press conference for Friday afternoon. The conference room at Harrison Industries was packed with reporters, lawyers, and, for the first time since the arrest, Michael Harrison himself. Patricia played the footage on a large screen. The room fell silent as they watched Samuel stumble through empty streets, alone and afraid. Then they watched Zara approach him slowly, gently, offering him warmth and shelter. "Mr. Harrison," Patricia said, arms folded, eyes blazing. "You assaulted an innocent woman on live television. You called her trash. You had her arrested. And what did she do? She kept your father alive. Michael's mouth opened slightly, the color draining from his face. For the first time in his life, the man who controlled boardrooms and commanded respect was speechless. She told you the truth, Patricia continued. You just didn't listen. Later that day, Derek and Tony were arrested trying to cross into Mexico. They confessed everything: the kidnapping, the ransom, the plan that went wrong when Samuel escaped. Michael Harrison had to face the truth. He'd brutalized the woman who saved his father's life. That evening, Zara was released from jail. She walked out of the courthouse to find Michael waiting by his car, a certified check in his hands. I want to offer compensation, he said, not meeting her eyes. For what I said, for the harm I caused. I was wrong. Zara looked at the check. 7 figures. More money than she'd ever seen. She looked back at him, her lips still scabbed, her pride intact. No, she said. Michael's eyebrows lifted. No, I didn't help your father for money, Zara said firmly. And I don't want a guilt check. I want to make this right. She looked him dead in the eyes. You don't fix something like this with money. You fix it by learning to see people for who they are, not who you expect them to be. He opened his mouth but found no words. She turned and walked away, shoulders high, dignity intact. But this story was just beginning. Because what Zara didn't know was that her quiet act of courage had started something much bigger than either of them could imagine. Something that would expose corruption, challenge power, and prove that sometimes the most ordinary person can shake the foundations of an entire system. And Michael Harrison, the man who tried to destroy her, was about to learn that some debts can't be paid with money. They can only be paid with truth. 3 weeks after her release, Zara thought the worst was behind her. She was wrong, dead wrong. The news cycle had moved on to other stories, but the damage to her life was permanent. No one would hire her. The nursing home, the community kitchen, even the cleaning company, they all said the same thing. We can't take the risk. Risk of what? Of employing someone whose only crime was showing kindness to a stranger? Zara survived on the donations that had poured in from people who'd seen the security footage. Strangers from across the country sent $5 bills and $20 checks with handwritten notes. Stay strong. You did the right thing. Don't let them break you. But money runs out. And broken hearts take longer to heal. She was sitting in her apartment one evening, staring at a stack of unpaid bills, when her phone rang. Unknown number. Zara Johnson? The voice was crisp, professional. Yes. My name is Diana Martinez. I'm an investigative journalist with Channel 7 News. I've been following your story, and I think you need to know something. Diana had been digging deeper into the Harrison family's business dealings. What she found made her stomach turn. Can we meet? Diana asked. There's something happening that's bigger than you or Michael Harrison, and I think you're in danger. They met at a 24-hour diner on the outskirts of Detroit. Diana slid a manila folder across the table. Inside were documents that made Zara's blood run cold. Financial records showing massive payments to Derek and Tony dating back 6 months before the kidnapping. Bank statements proving the ransom money had been funneled through shell companies. And most damning of all, recorded phone calls between Michael Harrison and a man named Vincent Cross. Vincent Cross wasn't just anyone. He was Detroit's most powerful political fixer, the man who decided which projects got city approval, which nonprofits received funding, which activists got silenced. Listen to this. Diana pressed play on a small recorder. Michael's voice filled the air. We need her gone. She's making me look weak. Vincent's response chilled Zara to the bone. I've handled bigger problems than one bleeding heart social worker. Give me a week. The recording was dated 2 days after Zara's release. They're not done with you, Diana said quietly. Michael Harrison's reputation took a massive hit when that footage went public. His company's stock dropped 12%. His board of directors is questioning his judgment. And men like him, they don't just accept humiliation. Zara's hands trembled as she closed the folder. What do they want? They want you to disappear, either literally or figuratively. They want you discredited, silenced, or worse. That night, Zara couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about Samuel, sweet, confused Mr. Samuel who'd held her hand when thunderstorms scared him. Was he safe? Did he remember her? Did Michael even care about his father? Or was Samuel just another asset to protect? The answer came the next morning. Zara was walking to the grocery store when a black sedan pulled alongside her. The window rolled down, and she saw Samuel in the back seat, looking frielier than she remembered. Their eyes met for just a moment. "Zara," he called out, his voice breaking. "Zara, I miss." The window shot up. The car sped away. But in that brief moment, Zara saw something in Samuel's eyes that made her heart race. Fear. Not confusion. Not the blank stare of Alzheimer's. Pure, conscious fear. She called Diana immediately. "They're using him," Diana said after hearing about the encounter. "Samuel is the one person who can verify your story completely. As long as he's under their control, they can shape his testimony however they want. But he has Alzheimer's. His memory comes and goes. I've interviewed 3 specialists. They all say the same thing. Trauma and high emotions can trigger moments of complete clarity in Alzheimer's patients. Samuel might remember everything that happened those 3 days. Then we need to get to him." "Zara, no. These people don't play games." Vincent Cross has connections everywhere. Police, judges, city officials. If you try to approach Samuel directly, you'll disappear. But Zara wasn't listening anymore. She was thinking about something Samuel had told her during one of his clearer moments. "I had a dog once," he'd said while they sat on her couch, sharing a bowl of cereal. "Golden retriever named Buddy. Used to take him to the park every Sunday after church. Haven't been to that park in years. Lincoln Park. It was the only green space in Samuel's old neighborhood. The place where he'd grown up before his son became rich and powerful. Every Sunday at 2 p.m., Samuel's caregiver took him for a walk. It was part of his routine, prescribed by his doctors, to help maintain his remaining cognitive function. Zara had a choice. Stay safe and let Vincent Cross destroy her life piece by piece, or take a risk that might save them both. She chose risk. That Sunday, she positioned herself on a bench near the park entrance, wearing sunglasses and a baseball cap. At exactly 2 p.m., a white van pulled up. Samuel emerged with a young woman in scrubs, his nurse. As they walked the familiar path, Samuel's steps slowed. His eyes began scanning the area like he was looking for something. Or someone. Zara stood up. The moment Samuel saw her, his whole face changed. The fog lifted from his eyes like sunrise burning through clouds. "Zara," he whispered, and started walking toward her. The nurse tried to stop him. "Mr. Harrison, we need to stay on the path." But Samuel was stronger than he looked. He pulled away and reached Zara's bench. "They told me you hurt me," he said, sitting down beside her. "They said you were bad. Do you believe that?" Zara asked softly. Samuel looked at her, really looked at her, and for a moment he wasn't a confused old man. He was sharp, present, completely aware. "You saved my life," he said. "I remember everything. The van, the men who took me, running through the streets, finding you." His voice got stronger. "You didn't take me. You saved me." The nurse was on her phone, probably calling for backup. "Samuel, I need you to remember this conversation," Zara said urgently. "Can you do that for me?" He nodded. "I remember more than they think I do. Michael's scared. He made a mistake, and now he's trying to fix it the wrong way." Samuel's eyes filled with tears. "He's not a bad man, Zara. He's just lost, like I was on that bench." "Mr. Harrison." The nurse was approaching with 2 security guards who'd appeared from nowhere. "You need to come with us now." Samuel stood slowly. Before leaving, he turned back to Zara one last time. "Truth has a way of surfacing," he said, "like bubbles in water. You can push them down, but they always rise." As they led him away, Samuel called over his shoulder, "Check the old house on Maple Street. In the basement." The security guards hustled him into the van before he could say more. Zara sat on that bench long after they'd gone, processing what had just happened. Samuel wasn't just lucid. He was trying to help her. But help her do what? That night, she and Diana drove to the Maple Street address. It was Samuel's childhood home, now abandoned and scheduled for demolition. The Harrison family had owned it for decades, but never sold it. The basement was dark, musty, filled with boxes and old furniture covered in dust sheets. Diana used her phone's flashlight to search while Zara kept watch upstairs. Zara, Diana's voice echoed from below. You need to see this. In a corner of the basement, hidden behind a stack of Christmas decorations, was a small fireproof safe. It was unlocked. Inside were documents that would change everything. Financial records from Harrison Industries dating back 20 years. Records showing systematic bribery of city officials. Records showing how Michael and Vincent had been working together to crush community organizations that threatened their interests. And at the bottom of the stack was a handwritten letter from Samuel to his son, dated just 6 months earlier. Michael, I know what you've been doing. The bribes, the intimidation, the way you destroy good people who get in your way. I've kept records because I hoped someday you'd remember the man I raised you to be. But I'm getting sicker. Soon I won't remember any of this. So I'm leaving this evidence where only someone who truly knew me would think to look, the place where your mother and I taught you right from wrong. Son, you can still choose to be better. But if you don't, someday someone will hold you accountable. I pray it happens before I forget how to pray for you. Your father who loves you, Samuel. Diana looked up from the letter, her face pale. Zara, this isn't just about your assault. This is about decades of corruption. Samuel documented everything. They spent hours photographing every document, every receipt, every incriminating piece of evidence. By dawn, they had enough material to bring down not just Michael Harrison, but half the city's power structure. But as they loaded the last box into Diana's car, Zara saw something that made her blood freeze. 3 black SUVs were parked at the end of the street, engines running. Diana, she whispered, we need to go. Now. They've been found. As Diana's car screeched away from the curb, Zara looked back to see men in suits emerging from the SUVs. Vincent Cross's cleanup crew. The chase that followed was like something out of a movie. Diana drove like a woman possessed, weaving through Detroit's early morning traffic while the SUVs tried to box them in. Where can we go? Zara shouted over the sound of squealing tires. Channel 7. If we can get these documents to my news director, they'll be public within hours. After that, Vincent won't dare touch us. But the SUVs were faster. At a red light downtown, 2 of them managed to trap Diana's car. Men in suits approached from both sides. That's when Zara made a decision that probably saved both their lives. She grabbed the most damaging documents, Samuel's letter and the financial records showing Vincent's payments, shoved them inside her jacket, and rolled out of the passenger side. Keep driving, she yelled to Diana. Get the rest to the station. As Diana's car sped away, pursued by 2 SUVs, Zara ran. She ran through alleys and side streets she'd known since childhood. She ran past the community center where she used to volunteer. She ran past the bus stop where she'd first found Samuel. And she ran straight into the one place she knew Vincent Cross's men wouldn't follow her. The First Baptist Church of Detroit, where Sunday morning service was just beginning. Reverend James Washington had known Zara since she was 7 years old. When she burst through the church doors, breathless and terrified, he didn't ask questions. He just pointed toward his office. Lock the door, he said quietly. I'll handle this. From his office window, Zara watched as the black SUVs circled the church like sharks. But they didn't enter. Even Vincent Cross respected certain boundaries. She used the Reverend's computer to scan Samuel's letter and email it to every news outlet in the country. By the time the 11 a.m. news began, the story was everywhere. Billionaire's father exposes decades of corruption. Alzheimer's patient's final act of conscience rocks Detroit. The Samuel Harrison documents. A father's love letter becomes a city's reckoning. Michael Harrison's empire wasn't just cracking. It was collapsing. But the cost was about to get higher than Zara ever imagined. Because men like Vincent Cross don't go down without taking everyone else with them. And Samuel Harrison, the gentle old man who trusted her with his deepest secret, was still in their custody. The city erupted. Within hours of the documents going public, protests filled the streets outside Harrison Industries. FBI agents raided Vincent Cross's offices. 3 city councilmen resigned. The mayor called for a special investigation. But Michael Harrison wasn't going down quietly. At 6 p.m. that evening, every major news outlet received the same video file. It showed Michael standing behind a podium in what looked like a corporate boardroom, flanked by lawyers. The documents being circulated today are fabrications, he announced, his voice steady and cold. They've been doctored by a desperate woman seeking to destroy my family after her attempted extortion failed. He looked directly into the camera. Zara Johnson is a criminal who kidnapped my elderly father, kept him in deplorable conditions, and is now engaging in an elaborate fraud to avoid prosecution. Then came a twist that made Zara's stomach drop. I have filed a $50 million lawsuit against Ms. Johnson for defamation, fraud, and conspiracy. But more importantly, I am offering a $100,000 reward for information leading to her arrest on charges of elder abuse and fraud. The news anchors could barely contain their shock. In less than 12 hours, Zara had gone from vindicated victim to America's most wanted woman. Her phone started ringing immediately. Death threats, bounty hunters, people offering to turn her in for the reward money. Reverend Washington found her in his office, staring at her phone in horror. "They're calling me a monster," she whispered. "People are saying I tortured Samuel for information." "Child," the Reverend said gently, "sometimes the truth has to walk through hell before it reaches heaven." But Zara wasn't sure she was strong enough for this particular journey. That night, Diana managed to get to the church through a network of allies who helped her avoid Vincent's surveillance. She brought disturbing news. "They took Samuel to a private medical facility," she said. "Not a hospital, a place called Serenity Springs. It's owned by one of Vincent's shell companies. Is he okay?" Diana's expression was grim. "I don't know, but I found something else." She pulled out her phone and played a recorded conversation. It was Vincent Cross talking to someone unnamed. The old man's becoming a problem. His moments of clarity are too frequent. The family needs to make a difficult decision about his care. The implication hit Zara like a physical blow. They weren't just silencing Samuel. They were planning to make sure he could never contradict their story again. "We have to get him out," Zara said. "Zara, you can't. You're the most recognizable woman in America right now. Every TV station is running your photo. The FBI has issued a warrant for your arrest." "Then I guess I have nothing left to lose." But Diana had been working her own angles. "There might be another way. I've been in contact with a federal prosecutor named Elena Rodriguez. She specializes in corruption cases. She thinks we have enough evidence to bring RICO charges against the entire network." RICO, the Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act. It was designed to take down organized crime families. If they could prove Vincent and Michael were running a criminal enterprise, everything would change. What does she need? Samuel's testimony. But it has to be given freely, without coercion, and it has to be recorded properly to hold up in court. So we're back to needing to reach Samuel. Diana smiled for the first time in days. "Actually, no. Elena has federal jurisdiction. She can subpoena Samuel as a witness. But she needs 48 hours to get the paperwork through the system. Can we keep him safe for 48 hours? I don't know, but I know someone who might. That someone turned out to be Michael's own sister, Rebecca Harrison Cole. Rebecca was everything Michael wasn't. Compassionate, principled, and completely disgusted by what her brother had become. She'd been estranged from the family for years, working as a public defender in Chicago. But she still had access to family properties, family accounts, and most importantly, family secrets. Diana had reached out to her after the documents went public. Rebecca had been horrified to learn what Michael and Vincent were capable of. "I can get to my father," Rebecca told them during a secure video call. "But I need to know exactly what's happening to him." They arranged to meet at midnight in a location that would have seemed impossible just days earlier, the parking garage under Harrison Industries. Rebecca had insider access. She could move through the building without triggering security alerts. But the real genius of the plan was its simplicity. Every night at 11 p.m., they moved Samuel from Serenity Springs to a secure floor of Detroit General for his daily medical monitoring, Rebecca explained. "Insurance requires it. There's a 15-minute window when he's in the hospital elevator between floors 12 and 15. And you can intercept him? I can try. But Zara, if this goes wrong, we're all going to prison. Zara looked at Diana, then at Rebecca on the video screen. Samuel risked everything to leave us that evidence. The least we can do is return the favor. The next night, at 11:47 p.m., everything went according to plan. Rebecca, wearing scrubs and a medical ID she'd borrowed from a friend, intercepted Samuel's transport team at Detroit General. She told them there'd been a change in the schedule. Samuel needed additional testing on the 8th floor. The security guards, recognizing her as family, didn't question it. By midnight, Rebecca had Samuel in a private room where Diana and a federal stenographer were waiting. When Samuel saw the recording equipment, something shifted in his eyes. The fog cleared, and he became the man who'd built a business empire before Alzheimer's began stealing his memories. "Are we going to stop them?" he asked clearly. "We're going to try," Diana said. What followed was 90 minutes of the most damning testimony in Detroit's history. Samuel spoke with crystal clarity about years of bribery, intimidation, and corruption. He detailed how Michael had used Harrison Industries as a front for Vincent's criminal operation. But the most heartbreaking part was when he talked about Zara. "She gave me hope when I had none," he said, tears in his eyes. "She treated me like a human being when my own family saw me as an embarrassment. And for that kindness, they tried to destroy her." He looked directly into the camera. "If something happens to me, know this: Zara Johnson is a hero. She saved my life, and she deserves better than what my family has put her through." By 2 a.m., they had everything they needed. Rebecca got Samuel back to Serenity Springs without anyone realizing he'd been gone. Diana delivered the testimony to federal prosecutors. And Zara finally allowed herself to hope that the nightmare might be ending. She was wrong. At 6 a.m., Vincent Cross held his own press conference. "Samuel Harrison is a confused, elderly man being manipulated by criminals," he announced. "Any statements attributed to him are the products of a diseased mind being exploited by people with no morals." Then came the announcement that changed everything. Due to the deteriorating condition of his mental health, the Harrison family has made the difficult decision to place Samuel in a secure memory care facility where he can receive the intensive treatment he needs. Translation: they were locking Samuel away where no one could reach him. But Vincent had underestimated federal prosecutors. At 8 a.m., Elena Rodriguez arrived at Serenity Springs with a team of U.S. Marshals and a court order placing Samuel Harrison in protective federal custody. The showdown in the facility's lobby was captured by news cameras that had been tipped off by Diana. Vincent's security team faced off against federal agents, while Samuel stood in the middle, looking confused and frightened. "I want to go with them," Samuel said suddenly, his voice cutting through the tension. He pointed at the federal agents. "They're trying to protect me." The U.S. Marshals escorted Samuel out of the building while Vincent Cross watched his carefully constructed empire begin its final collapse. But the war wasn't over. It was just moving to a new battlefield, federal court. And Michael Harrison, facing the loss of everything he'd built, was about to make a choice that would shock even his enemies. The question was, would it be enough to save his soul? Or was it already too late for redemption? 3 months later, Detroit looked like a different city. Vincent Cross sat in a federal holding cell, denied bail, facing charges that could put him away for life. 6 city officials had been arrested. 2 judges were under investigation. The FBI had seized over $40 million in assets connected to the corruption network. And Michael Harrison? He was about to make a decision that would define the rest of his life. Zara stood outside the federal courthouse, no longer hiding, no longer afraid. The charges against her had been dropped. The lawsuit dismissed. Her name cleared completely. But vindication felt hollow when she looked at what it had cost everyone around her. Samuel was safe in federal protection, his testimony secured, but his moments of clarity were becoming rarer. The stress of everything had accelerated his condition. Rebecca had lost her relationship with Michael, possibly forever. Diana had received death threats that forced her to relocate her family. And somewhere in the city, Michael Harrison was learning what it meant to lose everything you thought mattered. The trial began on a cold Tuesday in February. The federal courthouse was packed with reporters, activists, and ordinary citizens who'd been affected by decades of corruption. Zara sat in the front row, not as a victim, but as a witness to something bigger than herself. Samuel took the stand on the third day. He looked frail in his navy blue suit, but when the prosecutor asked him to state his name, his voice was strong and clear. Samuel William Harrison, and I'm here to tell the truth about my son. For 2 hours, Samuel testified about the corruption he'd witnessed, the records he'd kept, the gradual transformation of Michael from an idealistic young man into something he no longer recognized. I failed him, Samuel said at one point, tears streaming down his face. I gave him everything except the courage to do what was right. Michael sat at the defendant's table, hands clasped, watching his father destroy his empire one word at a time. But something strange was happening to his expression. The cold calculation was melting away, replaced by something Zara had never seen before: remorse. When it came time for Michael's defense, his lawyers played the expected cards. They blamed Vincent Cross for manipulating their client. They painted Michael as another victim of Vincent's schemes. But then something unprecedented happened. Michael Harrison stood up in the middle of his lawyer's opening statement. "Your Honor," he said, his voice barely above a whisper, "I'd like to change my plea." The courtroom erupted. His lawyers frantically tried to stop him. The judge called for order. "Mr. Harrison," Judge Patricia Williams said sternly, "are you certain about this decision?" Michael looked across the room at Zara. Their eyes met for the first time since that terrible day when he'd struck her on the sidewalk. "I'm guilty," he said clearly, "of all of it." What happened next was unprecedented in federal court. Michael Harrison confessed to everything: the bribery, the conspiracy, the cover-up. But more than that, he apologized. Not the carefully crafted non-apology of a politician or CEO. A real, broken, human apology. "I destroyed an innocent woman's life because I couldn't face my own failures," he said, looking directly at Zara. "Zara Johnson saved my father's life, and I repaid that kindness with violence and hatred." His voice broke. "I've spent so many years building walls around myself that I forgot there were real people on the other side. I forgot that power without compassion is just cruelty with a business plan." The judge was clearly struggling with how to handle this unexpected turn of events. "Mr. Harrison, I need to be clear. Are you pleading guilty to all charges against you?" "Yes, Your Honor. And I want to make restitution. Not just financial. I want to help rebuild what I helped destroy." Michael's guilty plea sent shockwaves through Detroit's power structure. With their leader confessing and Vincent Cross already behind bars, the entire corruption network collapsed like a house of cards. But the real moment of truth came 3 days later, when Michael asked to meet with Zara privately. They met in a small conference room at the courthouse, with Diana and Rebecca present as witnesses. Michael looked different. The expensive suits were gone, replaced by simple clothes. The arrogant posture had been replaced by something Zara had never seen in him: humility. "I don't expect forgiveness," he began. "I don't deserve it. But I needed you to hear this directly from me." He pulled out a folder filled with documents. "This is the deed to a building on Michigan Avenue, the old Brennan Community Center. I'm transferring ownership to you, along with a $10 million endowment to run community programs." Zara stared at the papers. "Michael, let me finish," he said quietly. "I also want to fund a scholarship program in your name for social work students. And I want to create a legal defense fund for activists who get targeted the way you were targeted." "Why?" Zara asked simply. Michael was quiet for a long moment. "Because when I saw my father on that witness stand, talking about the man he'd raised me to be, I realized I'd become everything he'd taught me not to be." He looked up at her with tears in his eyes. "You gave him 3 days of dignity when his own son couldn't give him 3 minutes of respect. You saw him as a human being when I saw him as an embarrassment. He's your father, Michael. He loves you. I know. And for the first time in years, I want to deserve that love." The meeting ended with something nobody expected: Zara reaching across the table and briefly touching Michael's hand. Redemption isn't a destination, she said softly. It's a daily choice. Every morning you have to wake up and decide who you want to be. 6 months later, the Zara Johnson Community Center opened its doors. The building was beautiful, modern, welcoming, filled with natural light. It housed a food bank, job training programs, elder care services, and legal aid clinic. But the most important space was the Samuel Harrison Memorial Library, where community members could access computers, attend literacy classes, and find quiet spaces to read and learn. Samuel had passed away peacefully in his sleep just 2 weeks before the center opened. His Alzheimer's had progressed rapidly, but in his final days, he'd had moments of perfect clarity where he spoke about how proud he was that his story had helped bring justice to his city. Michael served 18 months in federal prison. When he was released, he didn't return to corporate life. Instead, he became a full-time volunteer at the community center, working in programs that helped formerly incarcerated people reintegrate into society. The first time Zara saw him there, mopping floors in the main hall, she almost didn't recognize him. The arrogance was completely gone, replaced by quiet purpose. "How are you adjusting?" she asked him. He looked up from his work, sweat beading on his forehead. "I'm learning," he said, "learning what my father tried to teach me years ago, that the measure of a person isn't what they accumulate, but what they contribute." "And what have you contributed today?" He smiled, the first genuine smile she'd ever seen from him. "I helped Mrs. Rodriguez figure out her Medicare paperwork. I taught a job interview workshop for people getting out of prison. And I made sure this floor is clean enough for tomorrow's senior citizens dance class." That sounds like a full day. It feels like the first honest day's work I've done in 20 years. Vincent Cross was sentenced to 45 years in federal prison. He never expressed remorse, never acknowledged the lives he destroyed. He remained, to the end, a man who saw other people as obstacles to be removed rather than human beings deserving of dignity. But Detroit moved on without him. The corruption investigation led to systemic reforms in city government. New oversight committees were established. Transparency requirements were strengthened. Citizens groups gained real power to monitor public spending. And at the heart of it all was a community center that proved something beautiful. When ordinary people are given the tools and support they need, they can accomplish extraordinary things. On the first anniversary of the center's opening, Zara stood in the main hall watching families celebrate together. Children ran between tables where their grandparents played dominoes. Teenagers tutored elementary students with homework. Former rivals shared meals and stories. Diana approached her, no longer just a journalist, but a close friend who'd fought alongside her through everything. "Any regrets?" Diana asked. Zara thought about that night a year and a half earlier, when she'd found a confused old man on a bus bench. She thought about everything that had followed. The violence, the fear, the legal battles, the moments when she'd wondered if kindness was worth the cost. "You know what's strange?" Zara said. "If I could go back to that night, knowing everything I know now, I'd still stop. I'd still help him, even knowing it would nearly destroy your life. Because it didn't destroy my life. It revealed what my life was supposed to be." She gestured around the bustling community center. All of this, it exists because one confused old man trusted a stranger, and that stranger chose to care more about his dignity than her own comfort. Diana smiled. "You sound like you're writing your memoir." "Maybe I am. What would you call it?" "How about The Stranger on the Bench? How One Act of Kindness Changed a City." Zara laughed. "That's a terrible title. Fine. You come up with something better." Zara looked around the room again, watching Michael help an elderly woman with her walker, watching children who'd never had access to books before discovering the magic of reading, watching former enemies work together on community projects. How about What Kindness Costs? And the subtitle could be Everything Worth Having. As the celebration continued around them, Zara felt something she hadn't experienced in years: complete peace. Not because the fight was over. There would always be more work to do, more injustices to address, more people who needed someone to see their humanity. But because she'd learned something that no amount of money or power could teach. The most radical act in a cruel world is simply refusing to become cruel yourself. And sometimes, If you're very lucky, that refusal becomes contagious. 2 years later, the Zara Johnson model had spread to 12 other cities. Community centers bearing her name were opening across the country, funded by a foundation that Michael had established with most of his remaining wealth. But Zara herself remained in Detroit, working with the people who'd supported her through her darkest days, proving every single day that heroes aren't people who never fall down. They're people who get back up, dust themselves off, and keep extending their hands to help others rise too. The last scene of this story takes place on a quiet Sunday afternoon. Zara is walking through Lincoln Park, the same park where she'd met Samuel for that crucial conversation that helped expose the truth. She stops at the bench where they sat together, where he'd told her that truth rises like bubbles in water. There's a small plaque on the bench now, in memory of Samuel Harrison, who taught us that dignity is not something you earn. It's something you give. As Zara sits on that bench, reading a book to a group of neighborhood children who've gathered for story time, a young woman approaches hesitantly. "Excuse me," the woman says. "Are you Zara Johnson?" "Yes," Zara replies, expecting another interview request or photo opportunity. "I just wanted to thank you," the young woman continues. "6 months ago, I was homeless, sleeping in my car with my 2 kids. The community center, it saved our lives. I got job training, housing assistance, childcare support. My kids are in school now. We have an apartment. We have hope." The woman's eyes fill with tears. "I know everyone calls you a hero, but I wanted you to know what that actually means. It means my daughter gets to grow up believing that strangers might help her instead of hurt her. It means my son knows that when the world gets dark, there are people who choose to be light." Zara closes her book and looks at this young mother, seeing in her face the same thing she'd seen in Samuel's eyes that rainy night, a human being worthy of dignity, respect, and care. "What's your name?" Zara asks. "Maria Gonzalez." "Maria, can I tell you something? You're the hero in this story. You kept fighting for your kids when everything looked hopeless. You accepted help when your pride wanted you to refuse it. You're rebuilding your life one day at a time. That's not just heroic, that's miraculous." Maria wipes her eyes and smiles. Maybe we're all heroes, just waiting for our moment to prove it. As Maria walks away, Zara turns back to the children waiting for their story. She opens the book again, a tale about a small act of kindness that changes the world. "Where were we?" she asks. A little boy raises his hand. "The part where everything looked impossible." Zara smiles. "Ah, yes, the part right before everything became possible." And as she continues reading, her voice carries across the park, mixing with the sounds of children playing, families laughing, and a community that learns something beautiful. The world changes one choice at a time, one person at a time, one act of courage at a time. Sometimes the most important moment in history happens on an ordinary Tuesday night when someone decides that another person's suffering matters more than their own comfort. Sometimes revolutions begin not with marching or shouting, but with a bowl of soup shared between strangers. And sometimes the bravest thing you can do is exactly what Zara Johnson did on that rainy Detroit evening. Stop, look, and see another human being who needs help. The rest, as they say, is just the work of love making itself visible in the world. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to remember that ordinary people can do extraordinary things. Because somewhere out there, someone is sitting alone on a bench, waiting for a stranger to remind them that they matter. What will you choose when that moment comes?